Hello and welcome to a new video here on my channel here at commaik. The video is about the topic of balcony power plants. I already have a balcony power plant with a power of 300 watts. I will replace this balcony power plant with the two power plants behind, replace them. They have a power output of 600 watts and the option to later expand to 800 watts to increase. But what exactly is a balcony power plant? How does it work? What should you pay attention to? What should I pay attention to? Can I connect it anywhere? And for whom is it worth it? Want to know how I answer these questions? And if you want to know how to set up if you want to learn how to set up and install a balcony power plant, stay tuned, it's about to begin. A balcony power plant is a small photovoltaic system that converts the direct current from the solar cells through an inverter converts to 220V alternating current. The electricity is fed into the home network where it is used directly. The components of a balcony power plant are quite manageable. I will now show you the components using my old PV module as an example. The main component is of course the PV module. The size of the modules is approximately uniform. Usually, the modules have a height of approximately 170 centimeters and a width of 100 centimeters to 113 cm. The modules have a maximum output power. This module has an output power of 310 watts. The higher the output power, the better the module. The more power it generates even in diffuse light and the more efficiently it can be converted into electrical energy, the more worthwhile the system becomes. The direct current supplied by the PV module is fed into the inverter. The inverter converts the direct current into 220V alternating current, which is then transmitted directly through a cable. The input power of the inverter must definitely be compatible with the power grid. Adjust the output power of the module. If the module feeds too much power into the inverter, it can be damaged. At the same time, I must pay attention to the fact that the inverter does not have too much feed-in power. There are legal requirements for this. Which ones exactly? I will get to that. I will talk about this later. The regulations specify how high the power can be at maximum, may be fed into the power grid. The generated 220V alternating current is transmitted via a cable directly fed into my home network. In my case, this happens through the Schuko socket. But alternatively also the WLAN socket or the option of direct wiring. It is important that the module or the inverter immediately shuts off the power as soon as I unplug the plug pull, because with the Schuko plug the two contact pins are exposed. When the PV module electricity is produced and the inverter does not turn off after I have pulled it out, burns or electrical damage cannot be ruled out. I have attached two power meters to my Schuko socket. On one hand, I have a completely normal one. Consumption meter can count electricity backwards. Currently, this module supplies 35.6 watts, and I have additionally installed a WLAN smart socket. It provides me with the data directly into my home assistant. There I can then control the other. You can also make adjustments to devices in the household. However, you can also monitor the modules or the yield without evaluate these sockets. The newer inverters usually have an integrated Wi-Fi module. With the right app, you can read the data and then know exactly how high the electricity yield is. How it works with the app, I will show you later. To do that, to secure the module and align it correctly with the sun, I need a mounting system. I use this mounting system for flat roofs. They have the shape of a triangle. These metal struts are screwed together and with the module. These mounts can be placed on a flat roof or attached to the house wall to optimally align the PV module with the sun. When I do this, if I continue to set the strut further inward, the angle becomes steeper. This is interesting in winter. As the strut extends further outwards, the angle becomes shallower. This is interesting in summer. Anyone who does not place their balcony power plant on a flat roof or on the house wall with this, if you want to install a mounting system, you should rely on a rail system. With a rail system, the modules can be arranged in an endless row on the roof or ground. A rail system consists of a rail. This example is 1.50 meters long and can be extended infinitely with this connector and another rail. The modules are attached between the mounting brackets. This is the terminal block. The module frame is clamped here and screwed tight. This is the intermediate clamp. With this, two PV modules are clamped on the left and right, allowing multiple modules to be placed side by side. The attachment to the support system or on the roof can then be done using these brackets will take place. And you can see it. This set is available in proper packaging and it is also not expensive. I must say, I have had good experience with it. Such a module is available. You can now get for a quite affordable price. Currently, the value-added tax in Germany is photovoltaic systems have been subjected to various promotions. If you want to know where To see their current prices, just check the video description below. The components that I am currently using, linked. This way, you can conveniently get an overview, and to give you an idea of what to expect, I will show you the package or the content of my new 800W balcony power plant, which I bought as a replacement for this PV module. This includes two 415 watt PV modules with a 600W inverter that can be expanded to 800 watts. The package is relatively large and heavy. Let's take a look at what is included in the delivery. Is included. I unpacked the package and you can see the two modules behind me. This involves bifacial modules. This means that sunlight is captured from the front side. This is the black side that can be recorded, but the back side is also capable processing sunlight. The normal modules are usually white on the back, black. Here it is not like that. Here sunlight can be captured from both sides. Thus, the reflected sunlight that is radiated from the ground to the back side of the PV module definitely increased the yield. On the back there are the two contact plugs attached, which are connected to the inverter. The inverter belongs to, of course, included in the package. Here I have the two connections for two PV modules. The inverter has a maximum output power of 800 watts. This is the battery plug and the cables for connecting to the socket. From my perspective, it makes sense to additionally have to order smaller PV extension cables additionally. These cables are of a certain length. Rather briefly, they need to be connected to the inverter from both modules. If I want to align the PV modules a little to the side, according to my usage, then it will be with the existing cables are quite tight. I will now assemble the supports and attach to the two modules. Afterwards, I can already bring the modules to the location where I want to set them up. And there are indeed some things to consider. Basically, it is naturally best for a photovoltaic system when it is oriented directly to the south. Most of the sun during the day comes onto the PV modules from there. However, the special feature is, in a balcony power plant, the excess electricity that is not consumed at that moment, how it is produced, is directly fed into the public power grid. This happens free of charge. This means around noon, when most people are at work, and if the produced electricity is not consumed, it is fed into the grid, and one has not at all, as long as the base load is already covered. Therefore, from my perspective, it makes sense. The point is not to align the modules in parallel to the south, but rather to position them independently to use different directions. This way I can orient one PV module towards the southeast for the morning sun. The two PV modules will be oriented towards the southwest. That would be this direction. This way I can capture as much of the evening sun as possible. In this case, I would have around noon there is slightly less yield. Since our household goes to work during the day, we consume the most electricity in the morning and evening. During the day, the base load is, aside from the pool pump, it's quite manageable. When choosing the right socket, there are also some things to consider. In principle, the connection should only be made by a professional, should be taken into account. The legal notice, you should also consider the legal factors. Know the framework conditions for the connection, the reporting obligation, etc. But at this point, the following note. A standard power line with 1.5 meter class has a power capacity of 3,600 watts. That is what is written on the backs of the sockets and distribution boxes. That is the maximum power that should be transmitted through the cables. If I now have an oven running a microwave or a coffee machine, and thus on this power line maybe already 3,000 watts, claims the cable is already experiencing a certain amount of heating. If I now additionally, when the balcony power plant is connected at full sunlight, an additional 800 watts are added. The power line has already exceeded 3,600 watts, and I'm above the permissible limit. The cable still has some reserves. It should work without any problems up to 4,200 watts. I have read, but it is also about the many contacts and terminal blocks the power line was connected. If too much power is continuously flowing through this line, and when current flows through the contacts, the cable heats up and can be damaged. Therefore, one should be cautious. Ideally, use a single cable that runs directly from the balcony power plant to the distribution board. Without additional sockets is laid, preventing danger that a double occupancy or excessive power consumption occurs through the cable. Alternatively, one can also replace the circuit breaker and reduce the protection from 16A to 13A. Then the circuit breaker switches off earlier in case of an overload, thus protecting the power line. I have set up both PV modules. How I did that, I will show you now. Both modules are currently standing on a Euro pallet. The setup is still a temporary solution. I want to test what effects it has when I orient the PV modules to the east or shift to the west. I have mounted the modules directly on the screwed together Euro pallets. For this I use long wood screws. When I shake the module, there is still a bit of play. Therefore, I will place concrete curbs on the pallets, should provide the necessary stability to secure the balcony power plant against the wind. On the back you can see the supports. I have mounted them vertically. For the winter, that is the perfect angle. In summer there won't be too much yield here because the sun is positioned higher. At the moment I have also done without my mounting rails because the small piece, which still survives, transmits very well. There was a hole missing up here. I have done that. Drilled into it with a metal drill. When drilling, you should always place a piece of wood underneath. Drill through frame into glass, PV module breaks. The inverter is also installed, and I have also connected the cables from the two PV modules connected to the inverter, once on the right and once on the left for the other module. Here there is only one direction, you cannot swap them. Plus and minus, that is clear, specified. The battery plug is already connected to the inverter. The cable now runs regarding my Schuko socket. In the end, I also installed a power meter. I want to know whether the data provided by the inverter matches the data from the electricity meter to ensure it is accurately and reliably represented. The special feature of this power meter is that it can also count backwards. Most devices I have tested can only count forward. They only measure how high the power consumption of the connected device is. This power meter also measures backwards. This way I can monitor the feed-in from the balcony power plant. I will now plug in the socket and start the balcony power plant. After that I will go to the PC or my phone. There I will install the app to operate the inverter. I'll take you along with me. I have a request for you as I do this. If you have enjoyed my video so far, please then click the like button below the video. Subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my videos, if you liked it and want to see more from me. And if you want to know where you can find if you want to get a balcony power plant, the accessories and the tools, take a look under the video in the video description. There I have provided you with the links to the products, if you like. Buy through my links. I receive a small commission, but your price remains the same. This way I can continue to make videos in the future and show you how I implement my ideas. Enough advertising, let's go. Time to install the app on the phone. To install and set up the data locker, the PV power plant must be operational. The power supply of the inverter is provided exclusively by the sun. An installation during the night is therefore not possible. The installation works in two steps. In the first step, I need to integrate the inverter into my home WLAN network. Because it operates in a separate Wi-Fi network, I first need to pair the inverter with my Wi-Fi. And in the second, next, I will install the software with which I will later monitor my yields. I can check my feed-in and savings. For the installation to work, the inverter must be currently in proper operation. This is indicated by the blue status LED. What you will need are the data printed on the back of the inverter. These are, on the one hand, the serial number of the inverter and the serial number for the WLAN. I will now set up the Wi-Fi and show you the detailed and comprehensive installation process using an Android system. The installation first opens the Wi-Fi menu on the phone and I let it show me all available Wi-Fi networks. The Wi-Fi network with the letter AP and the serial number from the sticker on the inverter is the right one. I will now connect to this Wi-Fi network. The network is asking for an access password. Please note, the default password is 112345678. Then I connect. As soon as I want to connect to the AP network, I receive an error message. There is no internet connection in this Wi-Fi. I will connect anyway. Then I simply switch to a browser and open the website 10.10.100.254 over. I can access the inverter on the AP WLAN through this website. Before I gain access, I need to enter the access data for the inverter. The username is admin and the password is also admin. These are the default factory settings. I am now on the settings homepage of the inverter and already get some data displayed here. Through the wizard, can I select my existing local Wi-Fi network and connect the inverter to it? Connect. For this, I automatically receive an overview of the available Wi-Fi networks. Alternatively, I can start a new search using the refresh button. I select my existing network. The necessary data is already provided. I click on Next. Next, I need to enter my password. This is the password. My existing private Wi-Fi network with which I want to connect the inverter. I had already saved it in the clipboard of my phone. By default, it is supposed to IP address will be automatically assigned by my network, by my router. More, I don't need to enter anything here. Before I continue connecting, I need to make sure that my network also accepts new devices. This is a common mistake because many Wi-Fi networks were isolated from the outside. You need to temporarily deactivate this isolation. I can now make various settings to further increase the security of this network. I will skip this step, but you can take your time to do it later by simply clicking OK. The connection is established and the inverter is restarted. Once the inverter has restarted, I can access the page 10.10.100.254 again. If necessary, I may have to switch back to the network of the inverter. Is the Wi-Fi with the AP PAC. On the home page, I still have my display with the current data. Under device information, I now see under wireless STA mode that it is activated and my private WLAN network is connected to the inverter. The signal quality is still acceptable at 74%. I see the IP address that has assigned my network to the inverter in order to operate within in order to access the inverter on the local network. I capture the new assigned IP address and simply replace the index cn.html after the IP address. Subsequently, the system requires the login details for the inverter again. Since I have these has not yet been changed, the username is admin and the password is also admin. I now have the opportunity to access the inverter directly through my private network to access. Once the connection between the inverter and my network is established, I can then install the data logger. Based on the Android system which I am using, I will now show you the installation of the data tracker on the phone or tablet. I am here in the Play Store and have the option to download the tracking app. With the iCloud app and SolarMan app there are two apps that are practically identical. The access data for one app also work in the other app. I start the installation with the SolarMan app. This is offered to me here, and with a click on install, the app is downloaded and provided on my phone. I click on open and the app opens. First, I must agree to the terms. It won't work any other way. Then I enter my country. This data is pre-filled. You can either scroll down or just simply enter the name above in the search bar. Germany can easily be found under Germany. If you already have a SolarMan app account or a iCloud app account, you can enter your access data. I do not have an account yet. For this reason, I will click below. Click on register a new account. To create a new account, I will first provide my email address and a password. Once I have done that, I click on the send button. The system sent me an email in the background with the registration code. Within the specified time, which is running here on the right side, I need to enter this code and confirm it. Finally, I just have to accept the terms and proceed. Click done. After I've created my user account, I will also add my photovoltaic system to the program. For this, I simply click on Add Now, and I initially get the question of whether I have a service installer or not. In that case, I have none, and click below on Create Now.
With the specification of the location of the PV system, we'll continue. For this, I will enter the location of the PV system below. Then I click on Next. Now I can record the details of the system. First, I assign a name to the PV system, to be able to distinguish them better from other systems later. The time zone works for me, and I can scroll down to the system information. The system type is a residential roof. This can remain as is. The system type is differentiated. Whether the electricity is completely fed into the grid, whether the electricity is primarily consumed by oneself, or whether a storage system is present in the system. I hope that my self-consumption is as high as possible, is. I choose the second option. Now I can specify the installed capacity, that is 600 watt output power or 800 watts, since I already have an inverter, which can receive an upgrade to 800 watts. The measurement is done in kWp. Make sure that here a period must always be used instead of a comma. This is the English writing style. The operation date can remain. The currency in euro can also remain. Regarding the unit price, can I record my current electricity price to see how much the savings were? I calculate with approximately 0.35 euro kWh. Here too, I must use a point instead of a comma. I can also specify the total costs. This is an optional field. I have now added the PV system to the app. Now I can add the data logger. This I can directly via the link to add. Here I now have the option to enter the serial number to capture the inverter, either by taking a photo or by entering the serial number manually. The logger has now been added, but I still need to configure it. It can also happen later. However, it is best to complete this step immediately. First, I capture the access data for my local Wi-Fi. At the same time, I need to be aware of that. Pay attention to being within the reception range of the Wi-Fi network of the inverter, AP-PAM. Once everything is in place, I can click on Start to configure. The app has found the inverter and is trying to connect to it. Connect, I can confirm that. I get an overview of my local Wi-Fi networks and re-enable the Wi-Fi from the inverter, APP. I am connecting.
The configuration has been successfully completed. With the data logger, I can now track my yields. Track. On the home page, I can already see the current production and the daily production and my expected yield. When I click on the image, I enter real-time mode. This is updated approximately every 10 minutes. Currently, I have 262 watts from the two modules produced via this inverter. There are no data available for grid and consumption. The inverter only determines the generated electricity and cannot provide any other values. Further down, I see the 24-hour trend. It is very clear that from around 9 a.m. the sun has shone more strongly, but the yield is currently collapsing again due to the clouds. In the statistics menu, I have an overview of my data over a longer period. The special thing about this is that the app, the data logger, runs for only 9 days. The total production of 56.9 kilowatts is based on a significantly longer period. The inverter records the data internally. The app has only been running for 9 days and the module has been set up for 2 weeks already. Further down, I will indeed get the information on how many trees I would have planted now, or how much CO2 or how much coal I have saved. Further down, I can now see the data. However, I only see the data from the tracker that starts on August 19th. One can see nicely here that shortly after the start, a few beautiful days came, and the last days. It was very rainy. The yields were just barely above 1 kilowatt per day. So you see, indeed, the setup, operation and evaluation of a balcony power plant are not difficult at all. In case of doubt, you should consult a professional. Over time, it pays off. A balcony power plant can be set up quite quickly. As soon as the sun is shining, like it is now again, the sunlight is converted into electrical energy. What do you think about it? What experiences have you had with balcony power plants? What questions can I answer for you? If you want to get in touch with me, and if we want to exchange ideas, just write to me. Leave your feedback about the video and the balcony power plant in the comments section below the video. If you liked my video, I would be thrilled if you could give me a like. If you want to see more from me, press the subscribe button below. Then you won't miss any of my new videos. Find balcony power plant. What about the components and the accessories? Check the video description. What I'm using here, I have linked for you there. With just one click, you can order. Same price for you and a small commission for me and my channel. I'm just saying. Thank you. I look forward to exchanging ideas with you and say goodbye. Until next time.